This video is part of a series. Complete the previous videos in this playlist before you start this video. The complete playlist information, the material and the code file information is given in the video description below.
There is a requirement for random number generation. For example, randomly you have to generate a number. Let us try to do that, all of you. Generate a random number using NumPy. Single random number. There is no limit that is required. Generate any random number using NumPy. So what is the command for it? How do you search for it? I want you to search in the internet. I want you to generate random number. How do you do that? Generate random number using NumPy. Try that, all of you, and tell me the command for it. Or generate one random number. Generate one random number using NumPy. Can you tell me the command for it? All of you, I'm trying to now teach you how to solve a particular problem like this. The problem that I gave you is generate one random number. Now I want you to follow any method to get one random number, a single random number. Have you got it? Random number, all of you? Everybody must get this answer. Maybe you can search in the internet. Maybe you can search anywhere that you want. Here, even using generate with AI, you can do it. Search it, get the output, try it. If it doesn't work, again research it, again research it, do it 2-3 times, and then finally get the output. Generate one random number using NumPy. Here I have asked, so it says np.random.rand. It is generating a random number. What is the feature of random number? Every time you execute, you will get different value. Now I want to generate 5 random numbers or 30 random numbers. How do you do it? How do you generate 30 random numbers? Instead of 1, I will say 30 random numbers using NumPy. Can you answer this question, all of you? 30 random numbers using NumPy?
Add 30 inside brackets.
So here you have to give an extra parameter, that's it. So if I say 30, what is the parameter name? Shall we write the parameter name? What is the parameter name? Let us see. If I hover my mouse here, sometimes it shows here, it's not showing. So let me search for it, np.random.rand. Is there any extra parameter? np.random.rand. I have clicked on it. So it says np.random.rand. The parameters are d0, integer, optional, etc., etc. So directly you have to mention the number. There is no parameter name. So I just put 30 here. 30 random numbers are generated. These are all 30 random numbers. If you execute at any time, again they will generate. First one value is 0.23. Now there is something called random uniform. So like these are totally random values. There are some mathematical or statistical distributions. There is something called uniform distribution or normal distribution. So if you want to generate random numbers using normal distribution, do you understand what is normal distribution? Kind of bell curve. Normal distribution means a distribution that looks like this. Let us suppose this is the income distribution. This is the income distribution. And this is normal distribution. That means people who are near to average income, that numbers will be very high. There will be a lot of people who are having the income which is near to average income. People who are going far away from average income. That means people who are having far less income or people are having far higher income. They will be very less in number. So what is the normal distribution? Normal distribution means people who are near to average, those numbers will be very high. Let us suppose if you have 100 or 1000 people, if you take their income and if it is following normal distribution, it means that nearly 660 people will be having, let us suppose the average income is $15,000. So people who are having $15,000 or nearby, let's say plus or minus 10,000 or plus or minus 1,000, they will be very high in number. The number of people who are having 15,000 income plus or minus 1,000, maybe 14K to 16K, nearly 660 out of 1,000 will be there. Now, average income is 15,000. Is there any possibility that somebody is earning as high as $1 million? Is that possible? Average is 15 million. Is there a chance that somebody is earning $1 million? Possibility is there, but what are the number of people who are earning $1 million? They will be very, very less. So far away from the average, there will be very less number of people, maybe one or two. Now average is $15,000. Is there a chance that somebody is earning only $1,000 per month? Is there a chance? Possibility is there, but those number of people also very less. So this is known as normal distribution, or it is also known as bell curve. Have you ever heard of this concept called bell curve? Most of the people will be around the average. Far below the average, very less people will be there. Far above the average, very less people will be there. That is known as normal distribution or the bell curve. If you want to generate random values which are similar to this bell curve, then also you can mention using np dot random dot normal, and then you can mention how many ever records that you want. So here I want to mention, let's say 300 such values, or let's say size. There is a parameter called size. If we mention size equal to 30 such numbers. Now these 30 numbers are normally distributed. What do you mean by normally distributed? They will be near to average. By default, the average is taken as 0. So near to 0, there will be a lot of values. Far above 0 will be less values. Far below 0 will be less values. So this is far below 0. And this is far above 0. Near to 0 will be very high number of values. So this is 0.2, this is 0.12, and this is 0.7. So almost the way that we have seen here in the diagram, almost 66% of the values will be very much near to the mean value or the average value. So the average value, a lot of values will be given. Later on, when we go to machine learning, when we are discussing about some of the statistical concepts, there will be a concept of distribution that will come into the mind. So during that distribution, we will be discussing this very much in depth. But as of now, the idea is not to know about the distribution. The idea is to create some random values, sometimes totally random values, sometimes that are following a particular distribution. So this is called random number generation. Sometimes these random numbers need to be generated for doing some of the example. Let's say if you're doing a simulation, you do not have the data, you're simulating the data to prove a point or to create a graph. Quickly, you want to show X values, you want to show Y values, you want to create a graph. So you don't want to take the data from anywhere. Quickly, you create X as random values, quickly create Y as random values, and then try to show a quick simulated graph. In those cases, you want to create random numbers. So here is the purpose. You don't need to do this right now, just observe it. Let's say X is an array which is having random values, let's say 30 random values. Y is an array. So if I try to print X, it is having these many random values. And if I try to create Y is also an array, np dot random thirty values, X and Y having 30 values. Let's say I want to create a scatter plot. Later on, we will discuss about plots. So I want to demonstrate some kind of scatter plot. In that case, what I would like to use is, I don't want to use the data from anywhere. Quickly, I want to simulate the data like this, X and Y, and scatter plot for X, comma, Y. So for drawing the scatter plot, we need a matplotlib, import matplotlib as MP, and then plot.xy. So basically, I want to show a quick scatter plot. Now for this scatter plot, I do not really have any data. I will quickly simulate the data. In some cases, you will be quickly simulating the data and showing the output like this. Are you with me, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Again, these are like too many commands that I'm showing you. There is no real need that you will be using this command absolutely everywhere that you will see. There are some cases where you require only a few commands while you're working on it. But here we are doing them just to make sure that later on, if there is any need, you must know a way to search for a command and then get the thing done or get the job done. Now within this NumPy, there is one important concept, one last, but the most important concept that is left, called reshape. Reshape means your data is in one format. You want to reshape it in some other format. For example, I have created 30 random numbers. I have created 30 random numbers. Now, if I try to print A is this one. It is having 30, or let me say 10 only. These are the 10 random values. What if, or let me create 12 to have a better discussion. These are the 12 random values. What I want to know is, this is a array which is having only 12 numbers in it. It is a unidimensional array. That means if I say a dot n dim, what will be the output for a dot n dim? One dimension only, isn't it? It is a unidimensional array. Or even if I say a dot shape, what will be the shape of a? 12 comma, there is no column. It is just a single dimensional array. What if I want to make it as a two-dimensional array where there are 4 rows and 3 columns? I want to convert it into 4 rows and 3 columns, or 6 rows and 2 columns. So I will say a dot reshape. Tell me 6 rows, 2 columns. How should I write it? 6, comma
2.
2. Now, if I try to print, is it really affecting A? That we need to check quickly. If I try to print A, originally the A stays the same. When you say reshape, it is not really changing the shape of A. It is giving you the reshaped version of A, but it doesn't really change the actual underline A. That you have to make a note of. If you want to replace A, then you will say A equal to reshaped version. Now I have replaced it. Now A is changed. But without this, if you try to write it, A is created. You have printed the reshaped version of A, 6 rows, 2 columns, but the A stays the same. If you want to affect A, if you want to really reshape A and store it in A itself, then you have to say A is equal to. Are you with me? Let me store it in B. Now tell me, if I say A dot shape, what is the expected output? Print A dot shape. What is the expected output?
12,
It will be 12, nothing, because there is no column or something. If I print B dot shape, what is the expected output? Look at B and check the output. What is B dot shape? B has been reshaped. Let me print B. Now tell me, what is the expected output of B dot shape? How many rows are there in B? 6 rows are there and 2 columns are there.
6,
B dot shape will be 6, comma 2. What if I write B should have 4 rows and 3 columns? This is how B looks like. What will be B dot shape in this case? What will be B dot shape?
4, 3.
2, 3 or 4, 3?
4,
3, isn't it? Now, what if I give it wrongly? How many elements are there in A? 12 are there. Now, is this possible? If I do like this, is it possible?
No.
If you want to reshape it into 4 cross 4 matrix, how many elements are required?
16.
16. How many elements are there in A original
12.
matrix? 12. So is it going to work?
No.
What will be the value? Cannot reshape an array of 12 into shape of 4, 4. Is that understood? The
Yes.
error? Is this
Yes.
error making sense? When you get an error like this, do you know what to do? How to read this error? You have a shape of 12. 4, 4 is not possible. Does that mean 2, 6? Is it possible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2, 6 is possible.
Yes.
Or 6, 2 is also possible. 4, 3 is also possible. 3, 4 is also possible. Everything that is kind of having 12 elements, a matrix having 12 elements, that is possible. But anything beyond that is not possible.
So
Now,
how reshape is converting from row to column? I mean, on which basis?
so it will take the first element. You check these values. So I have told that it has to be, let's say for easy access, I have said there are 6 rows and 2 columns. Now I want you to understand. So this is a unidimensional array. Now this is an array which is having 6 rows and 2 columns. Look at the values. Look at the first value in array A. This one. What is the first value in a reshaped array? This one.
4.
All right. What is the second value? This one. Are you getting it? How it is just arranging? First
Yes,
2 are kept
got
in the
it.
first row. Next 2 are kept in the next row. Next 2 are kept in the next row. But if I do it this way, 4 rows and 3 columns. Can you tell me what will be there in the output B?
First four will be the row.
No. How many columns are there? How many columns are there?
3 column.
3 columns. So first 3 will be kept in the first row, because for every row, how many columns are there?
Okay, got
Makes
it.
sense or not? So
Right,
this
right.
row, first 3, and the next 3, and the next 3. Now tell me if it is this way, 3 rows and 4 columns. If that is the case, what will be there in the output? I'll go to the first row. First 4 will be kept in the
Yes,
first 4 will be
right.
considered as a first row. Makes sense?
Yes, perfect. Thank you, sir.
If I try to say 6, or 2, 6, 2 rows, 6 columns. This way, what will happen? 2 rows, 6
The
columns?
first 6 will be in the first row.
Exactly. Now, what if I give 2, 10? What is the expected output? It cannot reshape. It is not possible for you to reshape because it will have too much. Now, what if I know the number of rows, but I don't know the full size of it? I don't know the columns. I know the number of rows. I don't know the size of the whole data. I don't know the columns. What you need to do, let us suppose you have 5, 0, 5, 4. These many elements are there in the random values. Okay. Now I want to have, let's say, 4 columns, or let's say I want to have 4 rows. For us to know the number of columns, what we need to know, we have to calculate, isn't it?
So
Do
we
you
can
agree?
divide.
We have to divide and tell me how many columns will be there. Divide and tell me how many columns will be there. So it will be 5054 divided by 4, isn't it? Those many columns will be there. But is it possible?
No, sir.
That is not possible. Let me say 5050, 5050, or let's say 5030. I think this will be divided by 4. So 5030,
No, sir.
5030. This is also not divided by 4. Let's say ending with 4. Does it get divided? Ending with 4, 5034.
No, sir.
That is also not divided. Let me say 5036. 5024 or 32. So this is divided. 5036 is divided. Now these are the elements that I have. 5036 is divided. So here, if I want to reshape it, if I want to have 4 rows and the number of columns, you should mention 1259, isn't it? 1259, then only B will be reshaped. But that is a tedious process. Have you realized it? Like knowing the number of elements and then dividing, it's a tedious process. If there are 4 rows, if it is possible to arrange it into 4 rows and the number of columns, automatically Python should know how many columns should be there. So if you do not know the dimensions on the other side, if you do not know, then you can leave it as -1. What does -1 mean? -1 means I do not know. Here, there's a different meaning for it. All of you write it. -1 is I don't know this number. Automatically, please do auto calculate. Auto calculate. What do you mean by auto calculate? What Python is expected to do here? I do not know these dimensions. You do the auto calculation. So what it will do? It will try to automatically calculate this and try to reshape it. So if I execute this, even though I said -1, it will do the job for me. So let's say if I say 8 here, is this going to work?
Yes, sir.
It says there is an error because
Division.
they divided by 8. It is not going to give that. So if I say 2 here, is it going to work?
Yes, sir.
Because divide by 2, is it possible? Definitely it is possible. But I am not going to give 2518 here. Am I going to give? No, I said 2 and then -1, auto calculate. What if I want to have 2 columns and the number of rows are high? I want to have 2 columns.
-1, 2.
I can have any number of rows. If that is the case, I do not know the dimension of rows. What should I do? I would say -1, 2. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So the dimension that you do not, ideally, you should calculate that dimension. You have to put 2518 here and then give 2 there. But are you giving it? If you do not know 2518 here, you can simply put -1. Are you with me? Even if you can reshape it to any number of dimensions, you can have 2-dimensional array, you can have 3-dimensional array, you can give 1 dimension, which is not known as it is, you can leave it. Automatically, Python will calculate it for you. Can I do it this manner? Tell me, I want to reshape it. I do not know the rows. Is it okay not to know the columns as well? Does this work? I do not know the rows. I do not know the columns as well. Is it possible? What type of array it will give? Will it work or it will throw an error? Ideally, what it should do? It should work or it should throw an error?
Should work.
It should work.
So what should be the resultant value? Let us suppose A is equal to an array of 12 dimensions. Let us suppose A is equal to np.random let's say this of 12 dimensions. Okay. Now, once I create that, now I'm giving B is equal to A.reshape 3, -1. What is the expected output? It will give 3 rows and 4 columns are automatically calculated. If I say 2, -1, how many rows are there? 2. How many columns will be created?
6.
How can you say that 6 is the right number? Because if
Divided
2
by
rows are
12.
fixed, you are dividing by 12. So 2 rows and 6 columns. What if I do it this manner? If I try to write it, 4 columns are required and I do not know the rows. I can give -1. How many rows will be there?
3.
How many rows will be there?
3, sir.
3 rows will be there because automatically it will be calculated based on 4. Now, every time I asked you how many rows, how many columns, you're able to tell. Now, how many rows, how many columns will be created?
Sir,
The
I think
result,
it will divide rows and columns equally.
so it is like 12. What is the equal portion in 12? Is it like 4, 3? Is it like 3, 4? Is it like there are multiple options that are possible? Are you going to think the output will be 6, 2 or 2, 6? Is the output 3 rows, 4 columns or 4 rows, 3 columns? Tell me out of these 4 options, what is the expected output that you will get? Because you haven't mentioned rows. If you have done it this way, what is the output that you will get? Let me call this as option 1. This is option 2. This is option 1. This is option 2 that you have. This is option 3 that it has to decide Python internally. And this is option 4 that Python has to decide internally. Now tell me, if you give it this way, option 1, 2, 3, 4, which one will be taken?
1.
Option 1, because 2 is given, 6 will be automatically calculated, right? If I give it this manner, which one will be taken?
2nd.
Second option. Now, if I give it this way, how many rows? Not decided. How many columns? Not decided. So you can be unknown about only one dimension. If you're both the dimensions are not known, that means it will not be able to decide which option to give. Like, how do you want to reshape it? It will say that you cannot have 2 of these, can only specify one unknown dimension. Do you understand this error?
Yes,
Can
sir.
only specify one unknown dimension. Either you specify this dimension, then this is unknown, I can handle it. Either you specify this dimension, this is unknown, Python can handle it. But if you are specifying multiple unknown dimensions, it will not be able to handle it. So this reshaping is an operation that we may use frequently because our data is in one particular single array format. And if we want to convert it into a matrix format of certain rows and certain columns, then we can mention either rows or columns. The other one can be unknown. Then automatically it will be reshaped or converted into this 2D format.
Sir, what if we actually don't know any of the rows or the columns to reshape, like 5050, which was not divisible by 4, and so that means we don't know what should be divisible, what can be divisible by it. Suppose it is 5057 again. So
Right.
at that time we want to reshape them. So how can we do that?
So then we may have to append a couple of elements. Okay. For example, you must know either rows or columns. That you are aware of it, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So either rows or column you mention, once it throws an error, then the nearest whatever it is, append it with zeros or something. Okay. And then try to reshape it.
So I think she's asking what if it is a prime number and it cannot be, divided and,
So in
created
that
into
case,
more.
you should not create an array, create a matrix. So if it is a prime number, there is no way you can divide it. That means mathematically itself, you cannot do it. If you cannot achieve it, then there is no point in trying it out in Python and then knowing that, okay, arrays are not able to do it. It's actually, it is technically also, it's impossible. So reshaping should be done only for the cases where we know one axis and it should be divisible. Let's say this axis I know, the second axis I do not know, that I can give at -1, then automatically it will find it out and give it. There is one more command, then we will wrap this session. But before that, let me quickly know, is it still anything unclear? I'll just clarify it now, then I'll go to that. Is it clear now, all of you? It must be divisible. Then only we can give one axis, the other axis will be auto-computed. Okay.
Okay,
First,
sir.
we have to make sure that it must be divisible. Then we can give one axis. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Now, if you have an array, if you want to find the minimum value, maximum value, let us suppose I have this age variable that I have taken from bank. Let me deal it with balance variable. Instead of age, let's go for balance, bank balance. Balance is equal to, in the bank data set, there is a variable called bank balance. I have to put np.array on top of it. This is the balance variable. This is the bank balance. How do I know the maximum balance? How do I know the maximum balance? I will say balance dot max. For getting the maximum value of an array, you can say balance dot max. For getting the minimum value of an array, you can say balance dot minimum. If you want to get the average value, can you make a sense? Can you make a guess? Average is known as arithmetic mean. So you will write balance dot mean is the option. So what is the average bank balance? 1362. What is the minimum bank balance? Negative value. What is the maximum bank balance? Around 102,000. If you want to get the minimum, maximum, mean value of an array, you can do it in this manner. Now, if I want to know which index has this minimum, who is that customer whose bank balance is this much minimal? Or if I want to know the index of the customer who is having the max value, are you getting it? At what index this number is there? Now, this is the maximum balance. But at what index this number is there? Is it in the first row or second row or third row? How do I get to know which row this belongs to? If for that case, you can use an option called argmax. Whenever you see this term arg, that means we are working with indexes. So I will say balance dot argmax. What exactly this will do is this the maximum balance? Is this the maximum balance that I'm getting?
No.
What is the
No.
function for balance, maximum balance? Original function is
Val
Val dot max.
val dot max. But what does this argmax is doing?
giving the index.
Giving the index where? Try to complete the statement. Giving the index where
Maximum of
maximum balance is present. So to make that easy, let me give you an example. Let's say I have something called, let's say balance only, or let's create age variable or the number of loans. Now the number of loans is np.array loan, but I want to create np.array. Instead of taking the loan, let me take a list, which is somebody has 0 loans, somebody has 4 loans, somebody has 6 loans, somebody has 3 loans, somebody has 1 loan, somebody has 19 loans, somebody has 4 loans, somebody has 1 loan. Okay. This is the data that I have. These are the number of loans. If I say loans.max, what will be the output that I will get? Loans.max,
19.
what is the output? 19. But I want to know which customer or which ID has 19. In that case, like what ID? Count that manually and tell me which
5.
ID has 19. 0,
5.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5.
5. 5 has 19. Make sense? So if I write loans dot
Argmax.
argmax, what is the expected output? Tell me.
5.
Am I going to get 19 out of it?
No.
What I'll get?
5.
5. Have you now understood what is the argmax doing?
Yes, sir.
Argmax will give you, try to complete the statement, argmax will give you the
Index
of the
value.
maximum
loan.
index of the maximum value. Here, maximum loans wherever it is present. Now I'll write 2 statements. You tell me the answer for both of them. If I write print loans min, this is one, okay, and then print, what is my next statement that I'll write? Argmin. Can you tell me the answer for this?
0, 0.
Print loans min will give you what?
0.
minimum balance from the
0.
Number of, like it will go to this array, whichever number is the minimum number of loans is 0. Now if I say loans argmin,
index of the minimum.
index of the minimum. So for this, what will be the output? It will be 0, 0, because the first one is minimum as well as that is the location of the first one. But by chance, this happens to be this way. 4, 0, 0, 0. This is the loans. Now tell me what will be the output here?
0,
0, 1.
Minimum loans are how many?
0.
0.
0.
And what is the position where minimum loans are seen?
1.
1.
Now I want to leave you with a small twist. What if there are 2 minimum values? Like here there is a 0, here also there is a 0. Now what should argmin should give? Loans min will be anyway one output only, isn't it? Because whether how many ever times it appears to be 0, your number of loans are minimum value is 0 only. This will be 0 only. But what will be the argmin value? Here, which index is having minimum values? How many indices? 2 indexes have 0 values. What are they? Index 1 as well as index
5.
number 5. So what will be the output?
0.
What will be the output? Here, argmin is going to give the index of the or index location where the minimum value is present. Ideally, we want to give it to be having 2 values, but it will give you the first occurrence whenever 0 is appearing. Let us suppose here there is 1 and after this there is 0 here. So what will be the
5.
output in this case?
5.
Minimum is 0 only, but argmin will give you the first occurrence where 0 is appearing. Usually this may not happen. Minimum usually one value, max one value will be there. But if you have multiple values which are equal to minimum or maximum, if you want to know the location of a particular number, which is which location it is present, it will help you with argmax and argmin. So once you look at the balance, maximum balance is 102,000. But if I say argmax of balance, what does this 39,989 mean? What exactly is this? Is this the maximum balance?
No, sir, the index where it is present, the maximum
The
value.
index where the maximum value is present, that is known as argmax. It is available in two-dimensional array also, but one-dimensional array is the one that we will do it frequently. Once again, minimum and maximum, average, these are the three commands that you will use frequently. Argmax, argmin, you may not use them frequently, but somebody else might have written a code. Once you see them, then we should be able to understand, okay, argmax is not exactly calculating the maximum value. It is trying to tell us where the maximum value is present. So that is the end-to-end important concepts within the package called NumPy, numerical Python, which deals with arrays. Most often, the rest of the world, the way they see NumPy is simply NumPy is used for arrays. And how do you access a particular piece of array? How do you calculate minimum value, maximum value, average value? So usually NumPy is seen from point of view of hardly 5-6 commands only. But here we have gone through almost like 2 sessions just to make us comfortable with it. Only once you cover almost like 80-90% of it, you'll be very comfortable when you're using only 10 or 15% of it. So what I want you to do is, once again, you go through the class videos of these 2 sessions. If in the classroom, there are some exercises, there are some pieces of code that I have written. In between, you have some in-classroom exercises. Try to complete those exercises as well. So class video followed by in-classroom exercises. Unless until you practice, there is no way you are going to master this. Even if I teach you 100 times, while I'm teaching you, you will follow it. But if you do not go back and practice, within a week, it will evaporate very quickly. You have to practice.
Continue with the next video in the playlist. We are covering everything step by step. If you have any questions or the comments, please post them in the comments window below.